99.7 and 1450 WHTC now presents our weekly chat with six-term U.S. House Representative Bill Huizenga of R-Zeeland. He joins us via the Zoom connection this morning. Bill, good morning. Glad you're able to join us on WHTC Morning News.
Hey, Gary, good to be with you. And I know if they're listening, they probably can't see me. If they're watching, they'll see that I'm not in my normal attire. We have started the congressional baseball game practice. That's the charity practice that goes on. So if I'm going to be doing this by Zoom on Thursdays, you might be seeing a little more of me in a ball cap. And I'm actually then on my way to the National Law Enforcement Memorial, where myself and a number of the other members from the Michigan delegation, along with Kevin McCarthy and a lot of the other folks from around the country, we're going to be laying a wreath in honor of Michigan's fallen heroes, those folks that have served our communities. And as this is obviously National Police Week, as we call it, but National Law Enforcement Week.
Whenever we hear about congressional baseball practices, remember a few years ago when Steve Scalise got wounded because of a gunman opening fire. Hopefully it's good security this time around. They certainly have changed some protocols because of that over the years. And Steve's doing well. He was out on second base this morning. I was talking to him. We're going to have a good time. And, this charity game typically raises about $1 million for charities. And one of those charities is for the Capitol Hill Police. And frankly, they need it more than ever now. Bill, obviously, we need to talk about some political things that have happened this week on Capitol Hill. The Republican caucus casting its vote yesterday to remove Liz Cheney from the House conference chair, which she was part of the minority caucus. You talked about it with me last week about some of the things that is compelling you to make the decision. But it does lead to some discussion as to what direction the GOP is going and where is it going and what leadership is it going. Are you concerned about a possible split? There's been some talk that some GOP members might want to form a different party based on not so much the Liz Cheney split, but the split the party has right now. Are you concerned that the Republican message may not be as unified now as it was maybe this time last year?
So now if people could see me on Zoom, they'd see that I'm smiling because I think, as we may have talked last week as well, the media is far more stirred up about this than we are internally. This is an internal conversation for the House Republicans. It's not a national discussion. It's not a national party thing. There's a lot of nuances to this. And you have to remember, Liz Cheney got elected 4 years ago. 2 years ago, she deposed another female in our conference, Kathy McMorris Rogers, to become conference chair. There's a lot of nuances. This is not about Liz Cheney versus Donald Trump. The question was how was Liz performing as our conference chair? And the conference chair, as Pete Hoekstra's former district director, I had a lot of interaction with the conference because they do things like organize the district director fly-in. They organize the messaging. They organize a lot of different things internally for the conference. And I don't want to go in too much about what my conversations with Liz or with others have been. But I will tell you this, that back when there was this discussion earlier in February, I had a long conversation with Liz. This time around, I never heard from her. And a number of my other colleagues did as well, which begs the question, did you really want the job, or is this about something else? And that's some internal frustration, obviously, that we have. Look, we have a number of leaders. We don't have one particular leader. We have, whether it's a minority leader, Mitch McConnell, or minority leader, Kevin McCarthy in the House. You've got governors, DeSantis and Nome and people like that, Governor Abbott out of Texas. There's a lot of voices. There is no one unified voice, and I can tell you that this was far more nuanced and not about what the mainstream media is trying to portray it as. So I just wouldn't read too much into it.
Peg has a question. I have another one for you, but let me get Peg's question in front of us.
We might have the same question, Gary. I'm much more interested in something else going on in the Capitol yesterday, which was a hearing related to the January 6th incident. Yeah, Gary and I have the same question. A handful of your fellow representatives seem to be recasting this. One of them actually referred to it as a normal day. And I cannot reconcile that. A lot of people, as you've likely seen, are posting the video of the rioting going on. We know someone was shot dead. You were helping security officials barricade doors there. That was not a normal day. What is going on that you've got a handful of representatives trying to recast what happened on January 6th?
Well, it certainly wasn't a normal day. And to be honest, I didn't see that. I was in a markup yesterday from about 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. So I was doing battle on ideas in the Financial Services Committee. So missed any of that particular hearing. But I can tell you it was not a normal day. That was certainly not how we have peaceful transitions of power here in the United States.
Now, Peg and I were thinking along the same lines because I had the copy from our CBS briefing on that hearing. So we'll move on to one other thing, and I want to talk a little bit about financial services and a little bit of concerns. I talked to Dr. Brian Long yesterday from Grand Valley State. We have a chat with him every month, and I was talking about the I word. Inflation. Mm-hmm. How much of a concern should we have about this? Or is it really a concern for people, let's just say, that look a little like me with the almond hair and everything like that remember Gerald Ford's whip inflation now? Should we be concerned about inflation right now?
Yes, I think we do. Now, the question is what level of concern? And there's a lot of very robust debate going on. I do believe that the Federal Reserve and Treasury Department, both of which Jay Powell and Janet Yellen in her new position as Secretary of Treasury were in front of our committee a couple of weeks ago. And I asked Jay Powell the question, not about overall inflation, but are we in danger of creating asset bubbles and creating inflationary pressures in certain segments of the economy while we are trying to save and help other parts of the economy, like the service industry, like retail real estate and those kinds of things, because we have just flooded the zone with cash. And frankly, there's not even plans to be able to spend all of the stimulus money that has been thrown into it. One of our local communities has informed my office that they're planning on using multiple millions of dollars from their stimulus that's flowing through the state for a park. That's not really what this was all about. So when I asked Secretary Powell or Chair Powell about these inflationary processes, I at least got him to pause. He stopped and kind of looked at me and he said, well, we don't anticipate long-term inflation, overall inflationary pressures to be above 2%. And that's not my question. My question is, are we creating bubbles? And we are hearing it now. I sat down with the Holland home builders a week or so ago, and I'm very, very aware of the pressures that are that they're under and that everyone is under as we're seeing prices escalate, not just on raw materials, but also on land. We're seeing it happen for consumers. And guess what? Consumers are starting to make the choice to not build because they're not getting what they perceive as the right bang for their buck. We're starting to see slowdowns. Go past Barber Ford, go past any car dealer right now, and you will see basically their lots are empty. Why? Because instead of having hundreds of cars on the parking lot, they'll have dozens. And that's because of a lack of microchips and a lack of then the car makers continuing on with their production levels. And so those are the types of things that start triggering these problems within the economy. So, no, we are not back into Jimmy Carter era inflation yet. There are pressures. I can tell you that stock market took a bit of a tumble yesterday because people are finally recognizing some of these inflationary pressures that are on there. And we got to make sure that the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department acknowledge those and not just stick their head in the sand. And that's what I'm afraid that way too many people have been doing.
He is Congressman Bill Huizenga. He joins us Thursday mornings, talk about some things going on in Washington. Bill, stay safe on the baseball diamond, and we look forward to chatting with you again next week. Thank you, sir.
I'll try not to pull too many muscles out there, so thanks.
Thank you very much, Bill Huizenga. 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.